I'm Jules and I currently work for the Target headquarters in global trade as a process and training developer. My experience and background is kind of unique, and no, I probably wouldn't go into the area I currently work in, but I found out now that I have a huge love for this type of the business. I graduated with marketing, international business, and Chinese business and culture. I actually went on a summer study abroad tour while I was in college, and that's kind of where I fell in love with the whole international business and Chinese business and culture. That prepping to go on that summer study abroad, we took some classes on how to do business in China. We were each tasked that we had to do a big project, and then I did my project on marketing and how to network into a different culture and get connections from around the world was my study on that part. And with that preliminary work, we definitely went and learned about all the different cultural things to do, as well as the language part. After returning back from that, I took my 5th year as a senior, so a super senior, if you will. I decided to add on that minor to Chinese business and culture. And because I knew that's the area I really wanted to go in. That was my first time to China, so after I fell in love with that and then started taking the language in that 5th year, I decided to go back after graduation to China to teach at the University of North Dakota's sister university, the University of Shanghai, and that's where I taught business conversational English. I also worked with some former UND students that were retirees of CEOs, and I walked around to the factories that they've invested in, so I got to see that hands-on factory workers and many insights to how that type of business is done in China. I'll even say this, sir, because even though it's a tad embarrassing actually, so I had a really high GPA coming out of high school. I graduated second in my class, and then I had a really low GPA leaving out of college. So I was applying for some jobs after coming back from China for companies that didn't even, I didn't make their GPA requirements to even work for the company, Target being one of them actually. So, and now I work for Target. However, if I did not have the international experience I did, so also in college I did an internship at Walt Disney World, and I went through many trainings on how to treat guests with different diversity backgrounds from different cultures, how to properly point to something without insulting someone, like putting the 2 fingers together like that and pointing them in that direction. So with that experience, my China experience, like for studying abroad, and the one that I did and taught English at, there would have been no way I would be even considered for those jobs. And you'd think like, oh, that computer system must have thrown me out because I didn't make the GPA requirement. Well, you never know what be the first research find on a resume, because most companies always have the resumes looked at by a computer, and they have, oh, you need to have the word culture, or you need to have the word China. So the system is scanning for those certain words. So you never know what their first criteria is and what their second is. And obviously it didn't matter what my GPA was, because I still got into the company, and I was really excited and grateful for that. But without those experiences abroad, there'd be no way. I know that. So I will say, don't go not paying attention to your grades right now, but experiences are really important these days, and especially the international ones, because you can see the rise of other countries. So the way I prepared, especially for the second round going back, since I was interested in doing business over there, is you want to make sure that you have your networking skills up to par to network with anybody. You have to know also the Chinese language, and since Shanghai is kind of a huge expat industry now, there's about 75,000 expats in Shanghai, that you don't know where they are coming from other places in the world. So maybe you should know a couple other cultures too, to be like, okay, well I know there's a huge England residency here in Shanghai, or there's a lot of people from India in Shanghai. So maybe you want to know a little bit about their culture as well, and make sure that you don't say or do anything that insults them or hand motions that insult them. You never know, since Americans kind of are more in your face, especially while networking sometimes, or can be perceived that way. It's so important to understand like what are the cultural faux pas before going over there, especially if you're going to do business, because China and the Chinese people have a really different way of doing business. They talk about really personal stuff, where here in America, you stay away from like your family, your personal life, what you do in your free time. Where in China, before you even start doing business, they want to know all those things before, even to the point that they'll actually ask you your salary. They want to know how much money you make, and you would never ask somebody somehow in America how much money they make. That would be crazy, right? So, but they want to know those things, and they will not start to do business, or they might not ever do business with you, depending on how you act this first night. So before they even go into a business meeting, the night before, you're usually going out to this extravagant dinner, and they want to get to know you first. And even what they present on the table as food, unless if you say you have an allergy and they specifically tell you, try this, you have to try it. Otherwise, they will not respect you at the end of the day. So I remember, like, I say I don't eat seafood, even though I've messed up and forgot to tell people like I'm allergic to seafood, and that's kind of a lie. I'm not, but I hate it so much that I would never want to eat it. So it's kind of like getting out of that. I was like, oh yes, let's get some meat. Well, I just said meat, and that's too general of a term, that they ordered me chicken tongues, a whole plate of chicken tongues. And I was like, dang it, I should have been better with my description of what meat is, you know, because they're like, oh, it's from an animal, so let's give her some chicken. And then, you know, the chicken feet come out, and you're like, uh-oh. I mean, this is plates to share. Obviously, it's all in the middle, and it's all being shared together. They do not eat individual servings. It's always shared together as people. So some major cultural things to do in China, especially if you're being brought around by some businesses and you're being kind of hosted for a time or for a trip, and they're going to take you and tour you around their area, you always need to bring a gift, because they're going to give you a gift. Even though they're the ones that's showing you around, they're going to come with some lavish, expensive gift from their country, usually like the best tea made, or like the best artwork of a sketch or something. And you better have something from your home country given to them. You can't buy something from their country and show it to them. You have to bring all these gifts in your bags to come over with you, and wrap them up really pretty, because presentation is very important to them. Same with that going out to the dinner thing. Like, they're going to spend a lot of money on you, and they want to, especially if you're American or European, they're going to go above and beyond, order way too much food, and you have to eat throughout the whole entire thing. I remember, like, they have these eggs, I forget what they're exactly called, but it's where they bury eggs for 6 months, and the yolk is black and the white part is turquoise, like a gel. And you're looking at like, oh gosh, I'm going to have to eat that. You know, because if you make eye contact, they know exactly where you're looking. Like, even when you're like shopping, like, you know, at the markets and stuff, those people, they can see exactly what you're seeing. You don't know how. Same with at the dinner table. Like, yeah. And you better try it, and you better put on a good face. And if you can say some awesome comment in their language, like, hey, thanks for letting me try this, but I don't really like it. Like, my saying was always, toss your mama ho ho. And that's their like slang of saying like, it's so, you know, type of thing is the way they say it. So throwing out those, and then they'll have a good laugh, you'll have a good laugh, and then you don't have to eat anymore either. So it's just doing those obligations kind of before going to business, where Americans just like that, let's get down to business. It's not like that. You relax, you know, build a relationship before doing business with the Chinese. So. For undergraduates, I would have to say, maybe some people would hit me for saying this, but don't rush out. A lot of people, I think, want to be like, oh, I'm taking out student loans to do this or whatever. I want to graduate in 3.5 years, but then realize like, oh, I have no experiences, I have nothing to put on a resume. How can I even compete with others now? So I say, like, you know what? You're gonna have the whole rest of your life to work. Go do that study abroad thing. Even go take an internship, an unpaid internship. maybe instead of, I talked to again on my way here that maybe bartending or being a waiter isn't the best alternative. Maybe try to find something that's actually in your industry too. If you want to go into international business, I encourage you to go even work as a secretary for a company that does international business or a small one, and just so you are around and hear the discussions of business talk every day, I think is really important, because we communicate so much, whether it's by the words that we say or how we present ourselves and how we're perceived, that just being around in that type of atmosphere can really help you out on how you present yourself later in an interview or career way at all.